both Tom and I, our first cartoon was Rocco's Modern Life. And thank you, Rocco's Modern Life. Yes, we had a panel yesterday. And then this is where we met the fantastic Charlie Adler. And Tom was so gracious to share his time with us. But go ahead and ask all your questions for Tom. We're just here because he wanted us to be here.
Decoration.
We're here for decoration. Thank you.
I'm not gracious. I'm thinking like value added, man. I mean, this is like a voiceover 101 class. You know, the two best voiceover dudes I know, and then I can just coast on their fumes. You have a question?
Say your name and then ask your question.
Oh, I'm Christopher.
Hey, Christopher.
Can I clarify first that you did do the announcer voice for, what's it called? The Powerpuff Girls, right?
The Powerpuff Girls? Absolutely. Yeah.
So once again, the day is saved thanks to Christopher.
So,
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girls.
So,
Hey, I haven't gotten to do that in a while.
my question is, can you possibly do a short conversation between SpongeBob and the announcer over the confusion of a peanut?
Okay.
Come on, say it. Come on, I want you to. Please. Come on, say it. Come on, please, just once.
All right, SpongeBob, just this one time. So once again, the day is saved thanks to this big goofy peanut guy, Goofy Goober, SpongeBob SquarePants.
My day has been made.
Thank you.
Thank you, Goofy Goober.
Only 1,000 more questions, Tom.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Eddie, and this is sort of like a general question, but I am also an actor, and so thus I use my voice a lot, and I was wondering, like, what do you do to, like, preserve your voice?
Wow. Do you have any, Charlie, do you have any methodology, any regimens?
Remember what Richard Simmons said to me when we were doing Rocco? Keep it moist.
Yeah.
Well, Richard was right. Keep it moist. But get voice training. Know how to use your voice. Take a voice class. Take a singing class. You know where the muscles are and how to support it and how to not hurt yourself when you're yelling, and then do what I do. Yell!
Yeah. If you yell with some kind of correct method, then you won't blow it out. You know, when you all three of us make our living, you know, because of this little flap of skin like that big, you know. So it's
Speak for yourself.
Here's what not to do. Very good, parents! Don't do that.
And really guttural voices like
SpongeBob's easy. Like the higher voices you can do all day. Those don't hurt.
but the guttural ones like you just did, you know, where like
Eduardo from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friend like him.
Yeah.
Like, I like potatoes. Like somebody like Eduardo, if you have to do him for like 4 hours, then it really starts, at the end of the day, you're going, man, I think I better pull back on this. Gracias. I am not a scary baby.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Good luck in the business.
Hi, my name is Pablo.
Hey, Pablo.
I had three quick questions. This one's kind of an icebreaker for me. For you, Tom, Kenny.
I know all about ice. I'm the Ice King, damn it. I don't need a whippersnapper dressed like the Joker to tell me about breaking the ice.
Okay,
Back to Arkham with you.
Okay, so if you were put yourself in place of SpongeBob in the SpongeBob movie, how would you feel if you were in between David Hasselhoff's pecs?
Come on, man, this is great. He's kind of like my Kit. He has Kit and I have David. So David is kind of like, I'm the Knight Rider of David Hasselhoff, you know?
When they did the first movie, they had to build like a big mock-up of David Hasselhoff's back. And I went down to the set, and it was like, you know, yeah, it was like this big, and then there was like legs, you know, it was maybe like 8 or 9 feet long. And I went down to the set, and they were individually, the prop guys were individually like putting back hairs on the, they were putting like back hairs like a wax sculpture. It was amazing, because when SpongeBob and his friends are on there, when they're cruising, you know, when they're cruising like a motorboat, that's the actual prop. And I'm like, I like that you put hair on David Hasselhoff's back, you know. David
that-
Hasselhoff is the craziest.
Does that exist? Does that prop still exist? Do you have that?
Oh boy, I wish that I had that. I don't know what it is. It's probably in some Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse somewhere. Some guy with a forklift just putting it in a corner.
This next one is for all three of you, actually. As far as in terms of voice acting, because last year at Supercon, I was at Roger Bumpus's panel, and he had mentioned how for voice acting, it's pretty much a deal where no matter how you're feeling any day, you always have to come in just ready to do it, no matter what, no matter how what's going on. So can you elaborate more on that? Like, is it always just like you have to do it?
It's called discipline.
Yeah.
And doctors and lawyers and plumbers and nurses go through the exact same thing in their discipline. It's up to you to make that choice. Do you want to give 10% or 100%? I think 100's probably the best. So, yeah, it's your job. That's what you're paid to do.
try not to
Don't let
miss.
an audience down ever.
Yeah, but so obviously if you don't sound right, like if your voice is blown out and you don't sound right, or then to me there's no worse feeling, because we all love what we do for a living and we're all kind of workaholics, so when you come in and you just can't quite bring the voice, and you look on the other side of the glass and you just see them like doing this, and you're like, oh man, it's sounding wrong. I thought I could push through whatever I've got and make SpongeBob sound like SpongeBob, but they're going, yeah, he's just not sounding right today. It always feels like a defeat, like a blah blah.
Yeah.
You
We're
drive
just not
home
getting
really
the
sad.
ba. We're
Yeah.
ba. No, it's not there, Tom. We're getting the ba. We're not getting the.
But it's a job. We work.
You don't want to
work
let anybody
long hours.
down. You don't want. Who here wants to let people down?
Yeah, and we're all mentally ill people pleasers anyway.
Yeah, you try to come prepared and try to do the best you can, but sometimes you blow out your voice. I had a session with Charlie the other day. I got the cortisone shot in the butt and some oral steroids and powered through it. But you try not to do that. You try not to.
The
kill yourself.
the cortisone shot in the butt is a great trade secret.
Yep.
And it's so much fun for about 4 days.
Oh, it's awesome. It's finger looking good.
No, Carlos built a DC-10 in the middle of the night, the first night he was on it.
Thank you, because I'm in theater, so I can apply that to that.
That's right.
Cool.
You do 8 shows a week, you don't miss a show, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah.
All right. And this is just a really quick request from Tom Kenny, because my girlfriend is here, but she's too shy. Actually, she's right here. She's too shy to ask this. In the SpongeBob voice, can you say, Kevin?
Sure. Hi, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're my favorite sea cucumber.
Hey Tom, my name's Mario.
Hi, Mario.
I wanted to ask, yesterday it was mentioned that you were in a couple punk bands before you were an actor, and I just wanted to know what were some of your favorite bands at the time.
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Yeah, I play like, I was like in local bands in my hometown and stuff like that. Like we never had a recording contract or anything, but we always played and it was fun. Like we were kind of the only kind of punk band in our hometown. Like everybody else were like, Platform Shoes and Dry Ice, doing Genesis covers. And then we loved the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, all that stuff. It's hard to think. Thank you. I still, all the stuff I loved when I was 14, I still love. But, it's to kids now, it's weird to think that I was 14 in a world where the Ramones were brand new, and the Sex Pistols and the Clash and like all these bands. And then we all loved old stuff. We all loved, we loved the Who and we loved the Kinks and we loved, stuff that was a generation back, and like old blues. My son is named after Muddy Waters. Blues and rockabilly and just anything that was real, that's real rock and roll, which was in short supply during the Styx Journey besotted 1970s.
You're a big Ramones guy, right?
I was a huge Ramones guy. I'm still good friends with Marky, the last Ramone standing.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I've never been asked that question. Thanks, man.
Hi, my name is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
I have 2 questions for Tom and then one for all of you guys. Okay, so out of everything you've ever done, whether series or show, who's your favorite co-star and or director to work with?
I have 2 favorite co-stars that I've worked with over the years.
They're not here.
Both of them have the initials CA. Carlos Alazraqui,
Hey, what's your middle
and
name?
Charlie
Wait, what's your
Adler.
middle name?
Jaime.
Oh,
Jaime.
Michael. So, all right, CMA.
Okay. CMA. Okay. So no, one thing that's great about voiceover is that it's pretty rare. Like to get out of the gate in voiceover, you have to be easy to work with for the most part. You gotta be quick on your feet. And if you're like an unpleasant, pain in the neck person, you don't really get called in very much by the casting people or directors. I mean, obviously that's not true 100% of the time, but almost 100% of the time. So I would say that I've had very few awful experiences with co-stars or whatever, and on something like SpongeBob, Powerpuff Girls, Rocko's Modern Life, Adventure Time. It's so boring to say it, but like everybody's so nice and functional and wonderful compared to the on-camera world that we've all dabbled in before we got into voiceover. Like everybody's so dysfunctional and paranoid and crazy that when you get into cartoons, you go, wow. Everybody's kind of sane here, everybody's pretty together.
You could see it if you saw the documentary, I Know That Voice. Woo!
John DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio. You could see a kindred spirits between all voiceover actors, and we all like each other. And so generally that's why you're always working with somebody that's really cool.
And I also think because the nature of our work is to pull our pants down and be stupid, that we can't afford to go, well, my character wouldn't say poo-poo.
Yeah, right.
We don't do that. It's just have a good time. Play. So you're the sandbox with a bunch of idiots. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it really is all about playing, and it's great to have a job where that's what the job is to be as uninhibited as possible and not worry what you look like when you're doing the voice. Not worry about what your age, height, gender, whatever is. I mean, the beauty of voice acting is any character you can sound like, you can be.
Yeah.
And that's really lets us play a much wider range of roles than we ever would be allowed to play on camera.
Well, there's no isms, there's no ageism, there's no sexism, there's nothing. It's what you bring is it. It doesn't matter. There's nothing stopping you but your own skill or lack of skill.
Tom, can you tell the story of you and I coming into Rocko's Modern Life? It's our first cartoon, and tell them when you saw Charlie what it was like.
Yes, I had never done voiceover before. I had done one or two jobs, but I wanted to be on a cartoon series so bad, and it's what I wanted to do. And Carlos was nice enough to recommend me and bring me to the attention of Joe Murray, the guy that created Rocko's Modern Life. So I auditioned a couple of times. I got the gig. Heifer, Rocco. We come in.
Both scared.
Both like, feeling like we don't really know what we're doing. And Charlie, who was Ed Big Head, Bev Big Head, and a whole bunch of other characters on the show, I remember was having a three-way conversation, and the character, Ed was talking to Bev, and then there was some third character that was in the mix too, and they were going, Charlie, do you want us to record each of these separately? We'll get each character separately, and then we'll mix them together. And he's like, no, forget it, no, we don't need to do that. And then, so the next thing I knew, there was this guy channeling, like The Exorcist, like three different people in real time, having a conversation, papers flying around like a freaking hurricane there in the booth, and me and Carlos looking at each other going, we suck. we totally suck, and it really was like, it's the closest I've ever come to being a jock in my life, where I look and I go, man, I gotta up my game. I gotta up my game if I'm gonna be on the varsity team. I gotta get better really fast. And well, you are a jock, so you probably But what was your reaction to Charlie?
Same thing. Your famous jaw drops open, and I was just like, oh my God, this guy is so good. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't hang because all the suits were there, all the executives, and I'm going, hey, oh my, hey, oh my. And Charlie's like, oh yeah, and I'm just like, I'm like,
speaking in tongues, it's
I can't hang. I cannot hang with this voiceover world.
You make me feel delicate and loved.
No, we love it. It was kind of a cementing, like a cementing moment for me, where I'm like, I want to do this, but what was cool about it was I realized that unlike the on-camera world that I had been in, and even unlike the stand-up comedy world that we had both come from, Carlos, was that voiceover really did seem to be more of a meritocracy because it didn't matter what you looked like.
Exactly.
So it's like if you could be versatile and easy to work with, and not a pain in anybody's butt, you would work a fair amount once people became aware that you were out there, you know? So the challenge became just letting the people casting the shows and stuff like that know who you are and that you're out there and that you can do a whole bunch of different things. Hey, I can also do angsty superhero shows, not just crazy comedy shows. And convincing them that you have a range was probably the toughest part of the
There's something
gig.
else to that too, is we don't know, I'll speak for myself, but I don't know on any given day what I don't know. Meaning a day starts, something will appear in front of me and I'll go, I've never done that. And that's what's exciting to me, is the idea that it's not just, oh, this is the box that I live in. What's so wonderful about this medium is that the box just gets bigger.
Yeah. And I've also realized the value of saying that you can do stuff that you don't know how to do.
I can do that.
They go, hey,
Easy.
can you do can you do horse sounds? And you go, yeah, I can do that. And then you're like, oh man. Then you go home and watch a bunch of horse videos on YouTube, you know.
That's not exactly what you...
Yeah.
Okay, and then I wanted to ask, which SpongeBob movie do you like better?
You know, super lame answer, but I like them both. I like the first one, and then the Sponge Out of Water, I wasn't sure how I would feel about it. I'm like, I don't, even Steven Hillenburg was, I remember him and I having a conversation about not being sure if we wanted to see a CGI 3D SpongeBob. You know, I don't really know that, you know, SpongeBob is such a 2D classic character. He's flat, he's a drawing, and, you know, I think Steven to some degree felt that having to put 3D CG SpongeBob in the movie was a little bit of a defeat for him, like something that he got talked into by Paramount, a little bit against his will. Like they said, that's the way it has to be, that's the way movies are now, it's 2015, blah, blah, blah. And then when he saw it, he actually thought it worked really well, and his relief was palpable that they hadn't wrecked his baby, you know, and I felt the same way. I thought the 3D in the movie, both the 2D that was rendered into 3D and the actual CGI 3D were both really great. I thought it was a fun, stupid ride. You know, it was like a weird. It was like a Three Stooges. It was like Three Stooges or Monty Python or something. Just not trying to be anything, not trying to be deep. Just, you know, not trying to be a Pixar, you know, Up or Big Hero 6 movie. Just like pure stupid jokes for an hour and a half until it's over. You know, so I like that.
Okay. And a lot of people here, including myself, grew up on the 90s, and to us, like, that was like the golden age of entertainment.
I think so too.
And there's a meme online of Patrick from that Pink episode of saying, why don't we take all the 90s shows and put them on their own channel? And if there was a petition to go around, would you guys like be behind it and sign it?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Hey, if it pays residuals,
Yep.
of course.
Get it going, baby.
Yeah, but didn't Nickelodeon already do that channel?
Well, they have it on T-Nick from 12 to 4 a.m., but it's only 4 hours out of the whole day, and they only show like 2 hours of like real shows like All That and Keenan and Kel, and then like 2 hours of CatDog and Hey Arnold.
Rocket Power? Everybody hates Rocket Power.
Hey, I was on
I
that.
directed that
I'm kidding. I knew that.
badly.
Thanks. You guys are awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
bro.
you.
You're
Thank
awesome.
Hi, I'm Gabriella.
Hi, Gabriella. I remember you.
Yeah. Who or what inspired you to go into this field of work?
Wow. Want to go down the line?
Gosh, I think inadvertently, maybe Dawes Butler and all the Scooby-Doo characters, Frank Welker still, people like that. I just came home from school and I like cartoons. The person who did Popeye, the person who did Fred Flintstone, I thought I want to do that kind of stuff. So it was those people, the classic guys.
Yeah, I loved cartoons. And
June Foray too, sorry.
Yeah, June Foray, who's still with us. I loved. She was Rocky the Flying Squirrel on Bullwinkle, and Witch Hazel and Granny on Tweety Bird and stuff like that. And those people, to me, they were bigger than movie stars. And I loved comedy albums too. And just like doing comedy that was audio only was something that I really was fascinated with, and I loved animation. If I could have drawn, if I would have been able to draw, if I had any skill at that, I would have totally wanted to be an animator. But I just that just wasn't in my skill set, to my chagrin. So yeah, I'm doing the job that I wanted to do when I was a little kid. You know, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Mel Blanc, the guy who did the voices of Bugs Bunny and Tweety Bird and Daffy Duck and all the Looney Tunes and tons of characters. And now that's the job I'm doing. So, but everybody's path is different. I think Charlie stumbled into cartoons like through a totally bizarre side door. Like, how did you? You had been doing something total. You didn't care about cartoons when you were a kid, really.
No. I loved like the Beverly Hillbillies. I thought like Granny
Raymond
was the
Bailey.
funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Those are live action
Live
cartoons.
action shows. But I grew
They're
up.
live action cartoons in a way,
They are-
because they're very
exactly.
surreal.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so it was high character work that inspired and was attractive. Movies of the 30s and the 40s where the characters are so extreme and so wired and so crazy. Those are great templates for animated characters. And I was raised in the theater in New York, and so my work was between the theater and improvisational theater, which is where tons of characters come from. It's from improv. So we all have different backings. I was at a Broadway show which I toured with. I came to LA, I got a TV series. I hated it, boring. And I fell into animation, and they haven't kicked me out yet.
What was your first gig in animation?
I actually did it in New York. It was My Little Pony. I was Spike the Baby Dragon, and Moochik and the Grundle King. And then, that was in New York. Then it became a series when I moved out here to LA, not Miami. And, but Smurfs was my first show.
Wow.
And then when I walked into
What
that...
Smurf were you?
Nat Smurfling.
And Nat, I was working with Jonathan Winters and Paul Winchell and Brenda Vaccaro and Brock Peters and Hamilton Camp and June Foray and brilliant, but all the people that worked in the height of Hanna-Barbera had been very successful theater, television, and film actors who were just masters of comedy.
Character actors.
Character actors.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You guys are all amazing.
So
Thanks,
are you.
Gabriella.
Thank you.
I think you're amazing. So's your sister,
Hi, I'm Aiden.
Olivia.
You're good, dude.
I'm Aiden, and hi. Hi. And I had a question for Tom. I was wondering if you auditioned for SpongeBob, and if you did, what was the process like? And even if you didn't, how did you get the job?
Well, there's a couple different versions of that. There's a G-rated version and a PG-13 rated version, but they really, I stumbled into SpongeBob because Steve Hillenburg was the creative director, whatever that is, on Rocco's Modern Life. Joe Murray hired Steve. Steve had never worked in animation before, so Rocco's Modern Life was Steve Hillenburg's first job in animation, my first series, Carlos's first series, Charlie's 27th series. And after Rocco ended, I found it really hard to get hired in voiceover again. Like I would audition, and nothing would happen. So I was starting to get really kind of beaten down and thinking I was not going to do it anymore, or that nobody would ever hire me to do it again. And then Steve Hillenburg said, I'm thinking of pitching this show about this sponge that works in a restaurant. And he goes, just come over to my place. So I went over to his apartment, and he pulled open a file that was on his desk, and it was full of the first drawings of SpongeBob, really the first ones. Squidward, Mr. Krabs, beautiful like watercolor paintings of SpongeBob's pineapple house and Squidward's tiki head house, like these cute little things that he had in a drawer, and they were like beautiful. Like I was like, he just had this thing inside of him, and he said, well, I'd like to maybe have you in mind for the lead character. What do you think this guy would sound like? He's kind of a kid. He's kind of a grown-up. He's kind of, he works a job, but he also goes to school. He's a Munchkin. He's Pee Wee Herman. He's Jerry Lewis. He's Stan Laurel. He's all these different kind of things rolled into one. And so I remembered, this is part 2 of the story. Steve had remembered. Sorry, guys. Steve had remembered a story that I had told him where I was auditioning for a commercial. Do you know this one?
No.
I was auditioning for a commercial, and in the same place where I was auditioning, there were a bunch of what we call little people. We would have called them midgets in less enlightened times. Little people that were auditioning for a Christmas commercial, like as elves. So they were auditioning for Christmas elves in an on-camera television commercial, and a bunch of them were sitting in the hall. And there was one of them had the SpongeBob voice, and he was cussing. Like he was really a potty mouth. Okay. He was this foul-mouthed little person going,
you know what? If it wasn't for the beep, Christmas beep, then I would never beep work. You know, if it was, I do 2 beep, elf beep commercials a beep a year, and if I didn't beep do that, I wouldn't be beeping working, you know? And I was just like, that story's even funnier when I don't have to do the beeps, by the way. But, we'll do that at the adult show.
Parents, cover your children's ears. Tom, begin.
But I remember, so I told Steve that story and then kind of forgot about it. And Steve said, remember you told me the story about the potty-mouthed little person at the Christmas commercial audition? I go, yeah. And he said, try that guy for SpongeBob. And I did, and he went, that's the guy. And then he goes, how do you think SpongeBob would laugh? He said, Woody Woodpecker, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I can't. Can you do the Woody Woodpecker laugh? And Popeye, he said all these characters have a really iconic laugh. Can we come up with a iconic laugh for SpongeBob? And then I sort of came up with something that was supposed to. It's my bad attempt at sounding like a dolphin. When a dolphin or a porpoise puts its head above the water, and yeah. And Steve went, that's great. So little did I know that like 18 years later, I'd still be going, It's like you never know. When you audition for stuff as an actor, it's amazing like the staying power that some of it has. And then the converse is also true. Like stuff that you think is gonna take over the world sinks without a trace. And it's kind of an addictive way to live. Like you're always one phone call away from some amazing job that's going to be a blast. Yeah. So it kind of keeps you from ever living a normal life.
Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah.
I want to add something. Just point out, you said something
Sorry about
really,
the longest
really
answer ever.
You said something really, really clever that feeds into the earlier question about animation and how you get in it and the acting viewpoint. You, in this story, listed Jerry Lewis and Stan Laurel and Popeye. So many people that if you are unaware, if Tom was unaware of these people and these references, which are still used to this day, he would not have been able to have much to draw on to have created this brilliant character. So for any of you who are out there who are looking to start or become or find a way in, a very good way is, one of the skills is to really become aware of what came before you. Who came before you?
Now that I think about it, Rocco had a lot of Tiny Tim in it because he was so innocent. Like,
gosh, I hope we can all have a good Christmas this year.
It's so innately that stuff is true. You draw upon those things. But one of the reasons that SpongeBob is so successful is, and Charlie and I were talking about it, is part of who Tom is. First of all, he didn't have to share this panel with us, but that's the type of person he is. He doesn't have to take 10 minutes with everybody in a humongous line, but that's the kind of person he is. And that bleeds through into SpongeBob. So you owe this man a huge round of applause. That's why
that is the sweetest
SpongeBob
thing.
is so successful.
Thank you, Carlos. You guys are lovely.
But you didn't have to write those personal checks to either one of us for $100.
You did not have to do that.
Which we're very grateful.
You did not have to share your king-size bed with Charlie and I.
Don't thank me until they clear. I think I might be overdrawn. Thank you, Carlos. That's really nice of you. But I think there is something to that. Sorry, is that okay. I think there's a little bit of our DNA in all of our characters. I mean, you bring parts of your, like, obviously I'm a positive, hardworking person, and so is SpongeBob. But I also play a lot of crabby, like evil characters too. So I guess there's some of that in all of us.
Like Charlie
too.
said, you don't set any parameters on it. Whatever you need to come out, it's going to come out. What do you want?
But also, because animation is satire, even if you don't have those qualities, it's a wonderful way to get back at people who have tortured you and to do a satire of them.
You're never gonna make money using those stupid voices.
Yeah.
It's funny. A lot of the people in our, like Mr. Krabs is really the character of Mr. Krabs is really based on a greedy, like penny pinching guy that ran a seafood restaurant that Steve Hillenburg worked at in New England. So it's like, you know, we've all done like our nightmare gym teacher that we had in grammar school on cartoons, or that lady on your paper route that was a real cheapskate when you were a kid, or whatever. Like, yeah, you really do like. There's a lot of people in our lives that have found their way into our characters without probably without them ever knowing it.
They do now.
Well, thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you. So are you.
Thank you for that question that led to the book of Leviticus as an answer.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
I was wondering if I could record you wishing happy birthday to my friend Hope in like your SpongeBob voice.
SpongeBob voice? Sure.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Hope.
Hope, H-O-P-E?
Yeah.
Cool.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Action! Oh man, I'm so nervous when I'm on camera. Hey Hope, it's Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, and me and all these fish back there want to say happy birthday, Hope, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Hope! Yeah! Ah! That was all for you, Hope.
Thank you.
You bet. You guys all have to sign releases now.
Hello, my name's Evan.
Hi, Evan.
Hey.
Good to see you.
See you too, guys. My question is, since Winslow's up there too, what is your fondest memory of working on CatDog?
Oh man, Jim Cummings always coming in with his drumsticks. The guy from Schultz, Doug Schultz. Dwight Schultz from the A-Team.
From the A-Team, yeah, great actor.
So good, Maria Bamford. And you know what it was like? Peter Hanna was like Joe Murray in that Peter Hanna had never directed animation before, and he came out of the book writing world. And so the sessions were really organic and fun. And just watching Tom and Jim go at it, these two master pros, that was just fun enough for me. And I got to play a prick.
Hey, CatDog! Too bad you can't go outside!
That was just a joy.
Really disturbing character. Yeah. Now I realize Dog was yet another in my long line of like dim bulb yellow characters that I played in my life. Heifer was sort of like yellow, but not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
And SpongeBob, of course, means well, but he's not an intellectual giant. And Dog was just sort of like another like bright-eyed, like dumb guy. But it's did you do anything on CatDog?
No.
You never did?
They never invited me.
Yeah. I always assume that you've been on every show that we've been on, which is mostly true. But Peter Hannon, like Carlos was saying, the creator of CatDog, like he was a magazine cartoonist and a book writer. So he really wasn't an animation guy, and he was a lovely guy. I still get together with him from time to time, and he's really smart, beautiful guy, man. Like super kind, sweet. And the sessions were really nice. Ginny McSwain directed them, who's a voiceover director that we love. And it was just a pure pleasure. You know, it was a great, it was a fun show. But again, like something, both SpongeBob and CatDog and Powerpuff Girls and like all these shows that we're talking about, Rocko's Modern Life, really all started out with a guy drawing something on a piece of tablet paper. So, you know, stuff that takes over the world, everything starts as an idea, and that idea, you write it down, you draw it on a napkin or whatever. David Feast, Cow and Chicken, the show where Charlie was every character.
And Johnny Bravo, Van Partible, these were just brilliant artists who had these wonderful ideas.
Yeah, and it all started out as a drawing on a piece of paper. You know, Adventure Time started out as something in Pendleton Ward's sketchbook, like a little guy with a hat with ears on it, and he just drew it. And you know, to me, that's like a really empowering, inspiring thing, is that every one of these franchises that have turned into stuff that employ all these people and fans really like them and they make people happy, started out as somebody just with a pen in their hand, old school, And that's still how it is. That's still how it is in 2015. That never changes. It's stories and drawings and characters. So if you have something in your head and in your heart, and you put it on put it on paper and put it out into the world, and you might be surprised what happens.
Thank you.
You
Thank
bet.
you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
We have about 10 minutes left. Just yes, in total.
Oh, okay, good.
It's
What do you want to
divided
do for 10
amongst
minutes?
you.
Push-ups.
I don't do push-ups.
Well, let's keep our. Let's make sure we do one question, and that way we can try and get through this line, which I know
We'll try to do the lightning round, like Jeopardy.
Sure, but about 10 minutes left.
In other words, keep your answers short, jerk. Okay, I hear you.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I just as a kid who SpongeBob came out when I was 4, and I've watched it since I was a kid, and I've watched it grow and change, and writers change and styles change. How do you feel, and how do you react when a jaded teenager comes up to you and he's like, "Oh, SpongeBob isn't good as it used to be. What do you have to say?" How does that make you feel when someone basically insults your craft almost?
Well, thank goodness until your question, nobody's done that here, but it was it was, hey, I think every show is best in its first few seasons. There's not a show around that wasn't better in season 3 than it was in season 11 or whatever, but everything is possible. You haven't done every story already. Your writers and everybody's got the best, everything's clicking along. And, I'm just glad when a franchise, we're basically carnival people. We set up the Tilt-A-Whirl, and if the carnival gets held up for longer than a weekend, we're thrilled, because it means we get to voice these characters and be employed and have fun and put our kids through college. So nothing stays the same, but something like Sponge Out of Water comes along, and I realize that there's still iterations of SpongeBob that are new and fresh and original. And the thing to remember is that there's always somebody discovering these things for the first time. There's always a kid turning on TV or looking on YouTube and going, "Wow, I've never seen this before. Powerpuff, what?" And it's always new to somebody, and it's out there. So I think shows are always better in the first flush of their creativity, but if something sticks around for a long time, I am thrilled, because I don't like looking for new work.
Also, my friend Daniel says thank you for being his favorite purple dinosaur.
Oh, thank you, Barney.
Dragon.
No,
Whoops.
Dragon.
It's in the title.
I'm I was never Barney, was I? I love you. You love
Thank
me.
you.
We're all happy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thanks, man.
Hello.
Hi.
My kid is 4 and she's extremely obsessed with Ice King, and I was wondering if maybe you can say something to her.
Sure. What's her name?
Azume.
Azule?
Azume.
Azume?
Yes.
Cool. Got it. Sorry, I'm deaf.
That's
Now, all
okay.
those. Now you know what all those Ramones concerts did to me in my teenage years. What? Speak up. I can't hear you. Are we on?
Yes.
Hey, Azume, it's Tom Kenny, the voice of the Ice King. Hey, how are you? I just want to say that we here in OO think that you are the coolest princess around. And I think that it is time for you to come to OO and be the queen of everything. Because Azume, wank, wank, wank. Yes, Gunther, I know how to say it. Azume, you are the best. Hey?
Thank you so much.
Great voice.
I can't believe Gunther corrected me on my pronunciation.
Hello.
Hey, Reed.
I'm Reed. Yeah, you guys know me. Okay, so this is a question for each of you, actually. If you could pick your favorite character that each of you have voiced, which would it be? Oh, and also, can you do those characters for us, too?
For me, it's always going to be Rocco.
Rocco's my first, and he's the sweetest guy, and you just don't see guys like that anymore. So I would have to say Rocco. Thanks, Reed.
Yeah, Heifer has a place in my heart, because he was the first show that I ever did, and that was where I realized, wow, this thing I wanted to do my whole life really is as fun as I always fantasized it would be. So Heifer's very special to me. The male from the Powerpuff Girls is very special to me.
And SpongeBob?
He's just
SpongeBob, of course, is the whole reason that I'm not living in a cardboard box by the side of the road, so we appreciate him, too. Back at you, Reed. How about you, Charles?
Oh, I love cow. I love Carl because I'm so innocent.
And I love a brother chicken, and I love the red guy. Woo! What was Carl's superhero persona?
Oh, Alazraqui, super girl Alazraqui. Toma! Ay, 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 ay.
I love Super Cow.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Reed.
And
Thanks, Reed.
Tom, to me, you will always be the modern Mel Blanc.
Wow. Thank you. High praise indeed. I try to mention Mel Blanc in every interview that I do with anybody. Like just like it's almost like a superstition. I try to mention Mel Blanc. I try to mention Stan Freberg. I try to mention Dawes Butler. Just because I think it's good for the universe to put their names out there.
And Jude Foray.
And Jude Foray. I thought I mentioned her. Sorry. Yeah. I try her.
Paul Frees.
She's in the pantheon too. Yeah. Paul Frees is another one. You rock. Thank you so much. He was my idol as a kid. Mel Blanc was. So thank you, Reed. That means a lot.
Hi guys.
Hey man.
I'm Nick, and it's an amazing honor meeting all of you because you're all part of my childhood. And like I watched Rocko's Modern Life, SpongeBob, Cow and Chicken, and Camp Lazlo. And me and my friend loved it because him and I were SpongeBob and Patrick. So seeing that, we're not the only idiots out there. There's more. But it's an honor meeting you. And one thing of the show that I always questioned about was Doodle Bob. In the script. Was there actual words for Doodle Bob, or did you just come up with that on the...
Well, Doodle Bob, that's the one where the pencil, the guy in the boat drops the pencil, it floats down to Bikini Bottom, the guy draws like a scritchy, scratchy stick man figure of SpongeBob, and it kind of turns into this Frankenstein thing, right? That was not me.
That was not you?
I did not voice Doodle Bob. It was Paul Tibbett, who has directed the show for a long time and directed the Sponge Out of Water movie. So he's now, because that movie did so well, Paul Tibbett is now like an A-list Hollywood director, and so he voiced Doodle Bob. He's like, I think if I remember, because I was in the room when they recorded it, I think he was just making guttural sounds, whatever Doodle Bob did. So yeah, there was no language. It wasn't like Klingon.
And you guys get any injuries with voice acting? Because Roger Bumpus said that he got a bunch from voice acting.
Yeah, you do. You blow your voice out. You get polyps. You get all kinds of stuff. You can tear cords. It's very crucial, as Charlie said, to prepare, warm up correctly. So yeah, you do get injured.
Yeah, you got to be careful with it, because like we were saying earlier, we wake up every day and you drive to some studio and you scream like James Brown for 4 hours, and then you get in your car and you go to another studio and you scream like James Brown for another 4 hours, and then you audition for a bunch of stuff, a lot of which is screaming like James Brown again, and before you go home. So you got to be really careful if you want to do this. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
I sing on the way to work, which is an hour, and I warm down singing on the way home. And that's what my training told me to do. And I think if I didn't do it, forget about it.
You actually have training. Like I kind of came to it kind of recently where I started going, man, I better get some methodology happening here, because I've just been throwing stuff against the wall.
It hurts you, Tommy.
And I don't worry, but I don't worry about stuff, And as you get older, you go, I really should not be so cavalier with this thing. And so I'm trying to be smart like Charlie Adler.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you for giving me a childhood.
You got it. Thanks.
All right, we have time for.
Thanks for being part of our adulthood.
We have time for just one more question. I'm so sorry. This is going to be the last question.
Can I just say, oh my God, Tom Kenny, can I touch you?
Then she sets me on fire. No, I said, can I torch you? No! I thought you said touch.
Well, my name's Jasmine.
Hi, Jasmine.
And I love you.
I love you.
And I wanted to ask you, being both SpongeBob SquarePants and Patchy the Pirate, how do you go about portraying your own #1 fan?
Oh, yes, Patchy is the number one SpongeBob fan. Well, Patchy's a fun character because when we were kids growing up, every local station had like a cut rate TV show host, like usually the weatherman or the guy that did like the morning news in your hometown would put on a space helmet or a sailor costume or something and just show old Popeye cartoons and Little Rascals shorts and things like that. Like every town had this kind of thing.
Captain Mitch.
And so
we just got talking about it on SpongeBob about those guys, and Steve said we should have a guy like that shows SpongeBob, but he's like a pirate, but he lives in suburbia, like he drives a Prius and he like lives in a house, and he's only a pirate because he calls himself one, you know. They're like, hey, do you want to do it, Tom? And I was like, okay. So one of the great things about SpongeBob is that you get to be SpongeBob and Gary and occasionally Patchy. I think we're doing the first Patchy episode in a while is we're going to start filming it real soon. And it's funny, I just did this is the weirdest Make-A-Wish request I've had, is that some kid, this is actually happening next week, a Make-A-Wish kid, the people called Nickelodeon, and he wants to hang out with Patchy the Pirate all day. So,
in the heat.
So Patchy the Pirate is going to come out of mothballs. They probably won't even be able to find the costume because we haven't done it in like 2 years. Where the heck is that costume?
I want to be your driver that day.
Well, so we're giving this beautiful Make-A-Wish kid, we're giving him like a tour of the Nickelodeon studios, and he's gonna watch new episodes.
Come
of
drink
shows
some rum with Patchy the Pirate.
Exactly. So Patchy has this weird life, this weird half-life that still continues. But yeah, I am a SpongeBob fan, so it's easy for me to channel Patchy as being a SpongeBob fan.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tom.
You betcha.
Kenny.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Well, this has been great. We can't take any more questions, but we really want to thank you three for coming up here. And where can they find you next, Tom?
Right after the panel, we will be at our signing table, which is 230 something.
234, 236, and 238, right there.
Yeah.
You can see the big line for SpongeBob and just go
And
right
I'm
by
doing
that.
a Q&A at 3 upstairs somewhere.
Q&A upstairs somewhere. Check your schedule for Charlie Adler. We will be at our tables. Go when you see Lieutenant Uhura, take a left. And that's where we are.
Thank all of you guys for
Thank
being
you guys.
here.
We
Thank
love you.
Charlie
Thank
Adler,
you.
Alazraqui, and Tom K.
Patrick!